Your Creative Journey Live. We're so glad to have you here with us on a Tuesday evening. It's 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time here on the West Coast. For our guest, Korey, it's what time is it for you, buddy? Is it like 11
It's
o'clock on your side?
10 o'clock.
Oh, it's 10 o'clock on your
And
side. Glad to.
Stephanie's trying to get signed on to Apple right now, so she's blowing up my phone. Last time she called in the middle of it.
That's okay.
It's
We haven't even
so,
we haven't started the
I
audio
know.
the
But it's
audio
so
stuff.
funny because I don't know how to do what she's asking me to do. It keeps sending me a code that when I try to get the code to give it to her.
Well, I tell you what,
I'll be ready.
you figure it out with you figure out with your wife while Paul says hello to everybody.
Cool.
Hello, everybody. I'm just logging in now on the computer where I can see who is here.
Yeah.
Hello, Kelsey. Hello, Meryl. Hello, Dari. Hi, Melissa. Good to see y'all.
Dari's there. Hi, gang. So grateful, man. These guys show up. Hi. I like that. It's like live stream conversation.
Yeah.
I actually had a meeting with Dari this last week. We were talking
She
about
know.
her. Yeah, she's been working on her book, man. She's been a real trooper. So she's been doing it. Hey, everybody. Glad to have you here. Welcome to Your Creative Journey Live. We've got Korey Pollard is back with us as he's trying to help his wife on the phone.
Who's 22 stories below me in the same building?
Yeah, which
Going
we have to
on.
talk about in a second because
Wait.
yeah. No, go ahead. Ask Paul. Go for it.
What? Why?
Well, she just drove across the country with my
Okay.
dog and my car
I
to
gotcha.
bring the dog and car to me, and she's going to stay for a month. And she's flying home, and I'm going to drive home a boy and his dog. An American adventure.
Wow.
I can't believe she did it. I wanted to drive here desperately, but the timing didn't allow for me to take the time.
No.
And so Valentine's Day, she said, here's two options.
Right.
I fly out and I stay for 2 weeks, or I drive your car out and stay for a month and leave the dog and car with you. I was like, no brainer. Are you serious? You would do
Yeah.
that?
Yes.
She's
That's
amazing.
amazing, dude.
She's
For
amazing.
for those of you that don't know, we're gonna take care of this on the YouTube part. But
Sure.
Korey is a first AD with the Directors Guild of America. He's currently working on Chicago Fire, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he's been
He's
out there. Boy, oh boy, man, this has been
5 months.
5 months. Is it 20? Is it a 22 episode season?
We are actually only doing 16 this year,
Wow.
but it's still a lot. I've been doing 6, 8, and 10 episode arcs like that. I'm
my
open
gosh.
my limit already. I'm so tired.
Well, this is just how Korey rolls. So we're just grateful to have you on with us tonight,
Oh,
buddy.
thank
So,
you.
Yes.
um,
And real quick, just because we're getting feedback in the YouTube chat, it sounds like Corey's volume is very low. I
yeah,
don't know if
we've
you
been
have
tr
Oh
a, if
yeah,
you have
we're
a,
working on that.
we're
Let's get
trying to mess around
Let's
with it a
see.
little
I'm
bit.
coming up a little bit more. I'm going
There,
down on the one here,
yeah.
going up on the other, down
keep
on
going, buddy.
one,
Keep
up
going.
on the other,
Yes.
and I'm at the top. That's literally there's nowhere else to go on that.
Talk just a little bit more. So that
Okay,
if you
how we
can
doing?
hear him,
How
just
we
let him
doing?
know, guys, in the chat.
How we doing? Can you guys hear me okay? It seems
Okay.
now it's bottoming out again.
Sounds
Yeah, it's
I
weird.
know.
better to
Something happened
me.
to the mic this week.
Very
Maybe I
good.
should just lose my mic and see if I can just do it through the. Sounds horrible though.
Well, I don't know.
Does it?
Listen, you sound pretty decent. Do you want to
I'll just make
experiment?
sure I talk loudly.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? You're gonna have to
Yeah.
just be right up on that mic.
Yeah,
So,
I'll just stick right on it. Is that better? Oh my gosh.
yeah, it is a little distorted on it too, huh? That's
Yeah,
okay. Well, this is what you guys get to see. This is a little bit behind the
the
scenes.
high tech nature.
Do you want to try and
Keep it in the
experiment with a
table.
sec? Hey, Korey, experiment with it for a second and see we'll see what happens if you just unplug and then just use your computer audio to see how that sounds. Or is that going to mess it up too much? Hold on.
How is that? I'll come closer to the mic. Let me see if we're gonna do it. Plug in.
I think. Let's see what happens. Oh, look at this. He's
All right.
plugging.
Is that
All right.
any better? And let me try this.
All right.
System preferences.
All right. Here
Trying
he is.
this. All right. Trying this. Headphone input. Volume in.
We get to do it on the fly. All right, Paul, you're going to be the decider. What do you think? He sounds like
What do
he's
you
a little
think?
bit. He
Does that
sounds like
sound a little bit better or is that worse?
well,
He's
you're super loud. It's a little bit more echoey, right?
Yeah, it's an echo chamber in this place.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd go back to the other way.
Okay.
You
That's
say
what
go
we're gonna.
back?
Yes, everybody. This is what we make our
Trying.
guests go through.
Plugging it all out.
Sorry, buddy. Hey, you know what? That's good. So Korey, just make sure that when we're talking on that, just make sure you're just sort of up on that mic if you can. Yeah.
Okay. Is that a little better? Oh my gosh, it sounds
That's a
horrible
lot
right
better.
Yeah.
now.
Now you can bring it. Now you
Oh,
can
that's
bring
a
it. Now you can bring it
bring it
down.
down. Okay, let's do this up. Let's do this down.
There
Let's
we
do this
go.
up.
That sounds
Hey,
great.
we just need a little love. That's all.
Yeah, buddy. Look at that. We problem solved it on the fly.
Isn't that like everything with Mac or anything? Hey, did you restart it?
You unplug
Did
it
you
and plug it back
Plug it?
in.
Yeah, did you unplug it? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. Hey,
Right
let's
on.
dive in. We got plenty
Yeah.
of stuff to cover with Korey tonight. So we're gonna rock and roll it.
Yes.
Let's start it out, shall we? Paul, how about if I introduce? What do you think? Yeah.
I think you should.
Okay. Here we go. In 5, 4, 3. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Your Creative Journey Live. I'm Kevin Gregg.
I'm Paul Carganilla, and I didn't even have to think about it.
Wow. You didn't even trick him this time.
No, not at all.
It's coming. It's coming.
Welcome everybody to the show that is about inspiring you to get your creative work done. Whether you're an actor, writer, director, singer, producer, technician, assistant director, a grip, a roller skater, what else could they be, Paul?
If all you do is draw bunny rabbits all day, if all you do is run, if you're a CrossFit trainer, if you like to kayak, no matter what you do, what you like to do, what your passion is, this is a podcast that you would love to listen to because it's all about following your heart's fire.
Yeah, that is
Wow.
exactly what it is. We're here to inspire people. We have returned guests that come on the show, and today we got Korey Pollard is coming back again, man. Welcome back, dude.
Thank
Hi.
you so much for having me. This is really exciting. You know, my wife draws hedgehogs. And do you know what happened on her drive across the country?
What
She has
happened?
never seen a hedgehog ever live. I have been taught, I want her to make greeting cards out of these things. She caricatures her family members and friends, like literally the glasses. She would have a little Kevin and you have glasses. They're adorable. They're like the cutest drawings, but she refuses to do anything with them. Obsessed, watches videos. She's driving my car across the country, pulls into some place in the middle of Wyoming, and there's a woman walking a hedgehog in a rest area. She sends me a photograph of her holding a hedgehog. I'm like,
Yeah.
how? She's never ever seen one in live. And so she gets this God shot in the middle of the country. There's one hedgehog in the parking rest area.
That is absolutely
She's super creative, and that's her gift.
crazy that you say that because this past week,
What?
I get a random video texted to me from my wife of my daughter playing with a baby hedgehog in a
What?
hotel room.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, what am I looking at right now? What am I even looking at? And she's like, that's a hedgehog.
What is going on?
That's exactly what I did with Stephanie. I know that she loves them. And so her photograph, again, a lady took it and it was like from far away. I'm looking, okay, there's something in her hands. What then? I did the zoom in. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
What is going on? What is with this hedgehog connection? People in the
Hedgehog
comments,
madness.
people in the comments are saying were their names Sonic, right? Ew.
Could be. No, but the show that my daughter's out of state working on right now, I guess the AD owns a baby hedgehog.
Oh,
and they just
come
they have one in the hotel.
The AD has a hedgehog. Okay, what is happening? We have stepped into some sort of alternate universe here, and this AD is not your friend, the one that worked on the Apple show. That's weird. That is.
Yeah. That's a different.
No, but I talked to him and he said he's worked with you before and he loves you.
Oh my gosh! What's his name?
Kevin Zellman.
Oh my gosh!
My childhood best friend.
Me?
No,
Zell is your best friend. How did we not nail that the last time? Zell. Yeah, we did a show called Life together and a number of other things. Oh my God.
He was like, did he tell you the Waterworld story? And I was like, he told me a couple of Waterworld stories on the
we
show.
got a few of those.
It's kind of weird. Like after a while, like Korey is kind of like a hub with a lot of people. There's a lot of people in the industry that have met him over the years.
I'm a lot like something you step in. You just can't get rid of it once you meet me. It's just sort of. You
You
just,
meet Korey, and all of a sudden you start having these weird synchronistic,
yeah,
serendipitous hedgehog things.
yeah, hedgehogs and
D-
all kinds of things.
does a hedgehog? I'm assuming a hedgehog doesn't have spiky. It doesn't have spiky stuff. That's a porcupine.
That's a porcupine. It does look like that, though. I have to ask Stephanie. Somebody asked her in one of the comments on her Facebook, if you rub it the wrong way, is it spiky? And I didn't see an answer.
I
And
know.
eventually, I'm going to be able to hang out and talk with her. I will know, but right now I just look at her through the,
Right.
know.
Well, there's
In my life, too.
Korey's wife has driven across the country. She's here in Chicago. She has. Oh, look at this. Paul is showing a
So
picture
here's
Oh, I'll
that's
do that.
Everly in the
of the baby hedgehog.
I'm going to pull
Yeah.
up Stephanie's.
Hold
that's
it up there.
Everly in the purple jacket.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Look at this.
That is
And she's got the
insane.
hedgehog right there. And now they're playing with it. If you're listening to this on the audio podcast, go and check out the YouTube link. Look at it. It's just a little baby.
All right,
Crazy.
I'll do.
Just on a table in a hotel room.
Oh, that's pretty cute. Well, it looks like it's pretty soft. Yeah, look at that. I mean, like
Yeah,
they're
they're petting
literally just petting it. So, all right, here comes Korey's hedgehog.
Okay, so that's I had to zoom in on that, but then she did get a really great close up. And this is what just blew my mind because this is literally looks like the ones that my wife draws.
Oh, that's adorable.
Wow.
Look at
Isn't that
that.
amazing? I mean, she literally was driving. I can't believe that happened to her.
Guys, you've got a hedgehog connection. It's crazy, man.
And the Zellman. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
I hope Chris Kolpeck's listening. He was a friend of mine that we all worked together. He's another AD. He was a production assistant when I met him. And so was Zell. Like these are all guys that are now competition.
Well, let's just do this,
Teammate.
man. Let's just dive in because with
Yeah.
Korey, there's always tons of different stories and stuff to do. What was this production? Was this Life? Was this that NBC show called Life?
Yeah, I think we were NBC. Yeah, it was NBC Universal. We were on the Universal lot. Yeah, Damian Lewis
Yes.
was the lead
This
actor.
is the
in it.
story
Whoa.
of this show. Yes, the story of this show is about a cop who gets wrongly incarcerated.
Right.
And he's like in jail for like a number of years, and he becomes like spiritually enlightened or something. Was
Yeah,
that the
he
concept of the
became
show?
a Zen Buddhist guy, and he ended up not only did he get his incarceration reversed and released, but he ended up with millions of dollars in a suit against the city of Los Angeles.
Yes.
And he lives in a mansion. Yeah, Adam
sure you
Arkin
could
played
I'm
his
sure you
best
could
friend
prob-
brother.
I'm sure you could probably find it like on Peacock or something.
I wonder. I bet it would be.
Yeah.
It was such a great show because it was so different than any cop show.
Yes.
We did everything we did was broad daylight. So it was kind of these horrific crimes, broad daylight, with this guy having a whole different view of everything.
Do you remember it, Paul? Or
Brent
Is
Sexton
this-
was in it.
Was he the guy who was in Band of Brothers, the lead?
Yes.
yeah,
Oh my God. Zellman brought me onto that show. I worked on that show for like a week. I was working on that show when
I was one of the first ADs.
when Jamie tested for LAPD. And I remember I told the story. I was working on the show. I was standing on the beach looking out at the ocean. We were shooting in a hotel, I think at Manhattan Beach.
Yeah.
Right on the beach. We were up on like the second floor of this balcony.
Oh my
hotel that looked out
gosh.
at the ocean.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And we were there together.
That is so.
That was like 9 or 10 years ago.
Yeah. That is so
Crazy.
funny.
10 years
That
ago. It
was
has to
my
be at least
first job as a first AD. I was a second AD, and I was moved up on that job. The first AD that I was hired by needed to go leave the job to be back home in Southern California, down near San Diego, and they moved me up on that job. It was a crazy experience too, because they asked me if I'd be interested, and I said, "Oh my gosh, yeah." And they said, "Okay, finish the day as the second AD, and come into the office."
You were on
tomorrow and
the
just start prepping."
the same
I was-
show, so you were
Yeah.
already working on.
I was already working on the show as a second AD.
Yeah.
And the first AD needed to move on. They said, "Look, you need to give this guy a shot." He goes, "You really need to get you." The only reason I'm even comfortable making this very difficult decision to leave the show for my family and not having a heart attack is you have a first AD right there. You really
Wow.
need to consider moving Korey up. And they did.
Crazy,
And
dude.
Did you
and everything.
ever play beach volleyball with the rest of the guys after the shoot?
yes. Did we?
Oh my!
play
We probably played
together?
volleyball together.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
Madness. That's
That's what
madness.
happens in my life.
Right.
It's just so bizarre. Run
Yeah.
into people all over the world this way. My wife and my children literally will walk into a place and go, "Oh yeah, he knows somebody."
Yes,
of
of
course. Of course he knows somebody.
Well, that's the kind of guy that you were. I mean, well, like Corey and I we met through a men's group where
Yeah.
he knew several of the guys, Chip Eston, Eric Close, that were on
Yeah, on the
Nashville.
show.
And
Yeah.
that's the first time that I met you because well, we could talk about that if you wanted to because you'd had
Sure.
the other stuff that had happened to you. But
Yeah.
let's go back. Let's go back for a second. How was it when you were working? So when you jumped into this, for those of you that don't know, we've got an episode before with Korey that's been on. So you've got to go back, yourcreativejorneypodcast.com, or take a look at wherever you're listening. Go back and listen to some of the beginning stuff of how Korey got in the business because it's
You got to hear all the
great.
beginning stuff
I,
about
I
Korey.
just kind of keep continuing to go in a direction, and I have no idea where I'm going, and I keep just
You're like
doing
Forrest Gump.
all these things. Yeah, and you know what? I have used that analogy before. There's
Really?
like when I look at my IMDb, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
I'm like, how was I there? Like, there he is, just standing there to the left. And he was on that movie, and he was on this movie.
Yeah. Well, it feels like you're that type of dude. Like you're sort of like, okay, this is what's happening to me right now. And we talked about that last
Yeah.
time, which is like,
Yeah.
I think that there's sort of that attitude that you have to just say yes to whatever's being thrown at you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's what's happening with the unincarcerated and my writing. It's not that anybody may ever read any of the writing I'm doing, but the work is so important to me right now. And between Anna David, her Launchpad group that I'm in, and just doing that work and finding the time and space to do it while on a big television show and being exhausted and not giving up. It's been years of not doing any of that stuff and feeling kind of unfulfilled.
Yes.
And I'm not reaching for this stuff to get rich and be famous. It's just I have to do certain things, which is share my stories.
Yes.
Because they're just bizarre. I mean, you can't have things like the hedgehog or things like Paul. I mean, or ending up in Mexico and having two people from your childhood standing in the same city in Mexico, have a person that's completely unrelated connect the two of you. I mean, you just doesn't happen without,
Can I tell you something?
There's
something that's just really resonating with what you're talking about right now. Cause I was listening to another podcast. I'm not going to, it doesn't matter what the other podcast is. It's what the content was about. It really was talking about being in these moments of being in like an incredible hardship and realizing that the stuff that we are doing, and this was the analogy that was said in it, man, that really hit me today when I was listening to it. Like the stuff that we are doing today has an impact on people 50, 100, and 500 years from now. Yeah. And the analogy that was made in this thing that I was listening to is super, super powerful. I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to be transparent here. I'm going to be very transparent about why I'm not doing it. I tend to be very neutral on these podcasts because I think that the message is the most important thing, because I don't want to say, oh yeah, it was this guy, and all of a sudden have that skew what your thought is, because I think that there was so much truth in what was being said. And I think that, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent with this. I think that we're in such a stage right now, especially in our world, our country, whatever's going on, we need to have dialogue with each other, right? We need to have dialogue and discussion, even when we're on different sides of stuff of figuring this out. Especially right now, more than ever, right? Instead of like completely shutting people down. So that's why I'm going to be neutral about where I got this information. But the thing that really rang true to me in this thing I was hearing was like, there are people like 500 years in the future that are cheering for us, that are like on the edge of their seat and going, we need you to do this. Because depending on what you do and what you put, like everything hinges on it, right? And it doesn't matter, like even as we're going through the hardships, because as much as we want to like, I get it, man. Like we want to chill out. We want to just veg out, do whatever. And there's something that is calling to us that's saying, I need you to do this, because of how it's going to affect people 100, 200, 500 years down the line. And just sitting down and just kind of vegging out and not doing anything about it. And guess what? It sucks. Like that stuff that you're talking about just like the last thing you want to do, man. And I know it, Korey, you're logging 15, 16, 17, 18-hour days as a first AD, you know?
Usually that's the case, but I'll tell you what, here on Chicago Fire, we are killing it in the 10-hour zone. It's the
Right.
most 10, 11-hour days.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
It is such a fantastic crew. It is, oh my gosh. I have
And yet
never
that's a,
had a
can I
better
tell
time.
can I tell you something, man? The work ethic that exists with the behind the scenes crew is so impressive. Because I mean, I'll tell you what, man, like there is it's you guys are made of something else. You are made of something else where you guys are able to do that and you show up and you get the stuff done, you know? And yet people are like going, "Oh, I've had an 8-hour day." And you just kind of laugh and go, huh, "That must be very nice, right?"
We do more things by 9 or 10 a.m. than most people do in their entire
Yeah.
day.
So, anyway, I just wanted to say that, man. I just want to encourage you
I
like as you're
appreciate that,
trying.
and I agree with that too. That's, especially as we peel back the layers of what this unincarcerated productions is, and the fact that it's a vision that's been shared by 5 or 6 of us together that are watching this thing peel back and kind of come together in such an organic way, because it's a conversation. It's a production company, but it's a conversation, and we'll get
Tell
into that. Was a
tell
good
our
round.
listeners, let's jump into it.
Okay.
Listen, man, we're throwing out all of our standards of what we do, right? Because
Right.
we got so much meat on the bone here that we got to get to tonight, right?
Right.
For those people that are listening, what's Unincarcerated Productions?
Unincarcerated Productions is a production company that I'm very fortunate to be a part of starting with a group of men and women from the Seattle area. And 2 of them have served a considerable amount of time as felons. And we are seeking to shift the kind of paradigm and the view of what it is to be a person who's living in prison. And Spencer Oberg came up with the kind of the word unincarcerated. Kind of makes sense, but the definition for us is literally that place and that moment in time when someone becomes unincarcerated in the mind. You change your thought process surrounding yourself, something that's holding you down, something you thought was the worst thing you did doesn't have to always be that. There's a word called grace that works under as well. So we are seeking in a place to not ask people to drink a particular Kool-Aid in order to get help, but to know that you can change your heart and your mind toward specifically folks who have been incarcerated. There are plenty of people who are in prison and are there for desperate reasons that absolutely require them to be locked up. Then there are people who get stuck in a system that can't afford to get out. Then you add coronavirus to that, which really shut us out from a lot of the education stuff and things we're doing. Essentially, what Unincarcerated Productions is designed to do, we are in the process of training folks who've come out to make video. We're in the process through our COO of talking to who's an incredible inclusion expert and diversity person. She counsels all kinds of corporations. We want to lose the felon box on applications. We want to show that there's a prison to industry pipeline that you can actually cultivate and train solid workers for entry-level positions in manufacturing, airline, food service, all kinds of things. I mean, there's a lot of legal parameters you have to go around because a lot of these people have parameters that they can't be in certain places. But to welcome them into your area. Now, us training people to make these videos that actually literally will train people in prison. Support groups from out. We're not starting the groups. We're connecting the dots to a lot of organizations that already exist and shifting this paradigm through this kind of grandiose vision. And it goes into writers groups for trauma writing to get stories. We're producing podcasts that are going from podcast to book to documentary to then some series work. I'm in talks with some pretty interesting people in the industry considering executive producing and helping us usher along a series of IP that we have surrounding Billy Wayne Sinclair and Jody Sinclair, who were a couple that experienced incarceration in a huge way. He was absolutely guilty of a really horrible crime where someone ended up dead. Yeah. It was completely skewed by the defense, and witnesses were hidden, and his file was doctored, and he worked for over 35 years to set that straight on paper. They worked with the FBI and did a lot of work because it was corrupt.
Yeah.
It was out of Angola, the prison in Louisiana. This story took place, and please do Google those folks and look at their books. We're their legacy. So we're producing a podcast.
What's their name? What's their names again?
Billy Wayne Sinclair and Jody Sinclair.
Right.
And I won't go too deep into the story because I'm not here to hawk it.
No, that's okay.
Not the intention.
Yeah.
But the reality is that these two people, she is 82, he's 76, and we are producing podcasts with them and helping them, continue this conversation they've been in for over 40 years.
Wow.
And it's such an here we are back at the beginning of all this conversation about how is it that certain things can connect.
Yes.
When they approached our Spencer Oberg and Vic Chopra, who are our co-founders, who are both gentlemen who've been in prison and been unincarcerated in their minds. Let me share a little bit about the two of them. I'm not going to get into their rap sheet, but they were both in prison for some drug-related crimes and some fraud. And in prison, Spencer met some guys that were there doing some counseling toward teaching people to be entrepreneurial and to learn how to educate themselves. And
yes.
Spencer had an experience. He ended up on a TEDx talk. Spencer Oberg, write that one down and look it up and look for his Oberg. Look for his TEDx talk. He realized that the only way you could free himself was to free himself in his mind, and he began to get an education while he was in prison, an education he couldn't afford because, but he did it. He started, and worked with an organization called University Behind Bars and did this really great stuff to help people see that, you can change your mind and your life in there. And in there, a man goes, you're just an entrepreneur. You just chose the wrong product. And he went, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
So his product now, he's been out, I think it's all coming up on 3 years, I would think it is. And he and another gentleman, David Israel, who's also one of our supporters and founders, started a company called Good Planet Foods. Good Planet Foods is the best meltable. They have all kinds of vegan plant-based cheese, and it's unbelievable. It's tasty. But what's amazing about them is they started this company as they were just nearing the end of their work release, came up with the idea. Now it's in many, many food service companies across the country.
Wow.
Costco partnered them with Beyond Meat, and they are the cheese on the pizzas that you have in Costco, the frozen pizzas that is with the Beyond Meat or the vegan plant-based paste. So he is, and they both are. Vic works with some of the different pageants. He's a choreographer and he's a coach.
Like pageants? Right? Like what kind of pageants are you talking about?
Beauty pageants.
Oh, so beauty pageants. Oh.
Yeah, literally beauty pageants. He's an incredibly talented man. He's our creative director, and he's the guy that will be directing a lot of the things that we do, these short videos and the things that we're doing. And then we're developing feature length and documentary. He's got three actually documentaries in development and in shooting one of them right now, and he produces all of our podcast stuff. Wow. So Unincarcerated, the podcast, season 1 is out, and it is unincarceratedthepodcast.com is where you can check out the first season. The second season is in production right now, and Justice Declared is also in production right now, which is the one with Jody Sinclair and Billy Wayne Sinclair. And our first guest on that one was Sister Helen Prigine, talking about the death penalty.
Oh, wow. For those of you that don't know, Sister Helen Prigine is the woman, if you saw Dead Man Walking, the Sean Penn, Susan Sarandon movie, this is who this woman is. Right?
Yeah. She's amazing. She's a big supporter because she understands, because what we're trying to do, the ultimate goal is to create the jobs, create an awareness around these folks. And we're getting to the point where we are starting to earmark stories that we want to tell, which is not Orange is the New Black, which is not Prison Break.
Nope.
But these people who become unincarcerated and lose and become unincarcerated in their minds and win.
Yes.
But to tell them realistically about what the system is and what it has done to people. See, the thing about Billy Wayne Sinclair is he is a journalist, but he was a journalist on the Angolite, which is a newspaper that started inside of Angola prison in Louisiana.
Right.
And they were given freedom of speech, and they, in the 60s, 70s, unearthed a lot of corruption and were able to actually write about it. He's got many awards for doing so.
Wow.
And so here we're back to what I was beginning to talk about. So the Anglite, when we first met Billy and Jody, they reached out. Jody Sinclair had a book coming out just before the pandemic called Love Behind Bars, which is their love story.
Right.
Essentially, she was a 30-ish, mid-30s lady,
Mm-hmm.
Divorced, wanted to pursue her dream to become a newscaster,
Mm-hmm.
did so with a divorce and ended up at Columbia, and ended up on a beat where she was working for the governor of Louisiana doing political stories, and was asked to cover a piece on death penalty. And she met and interviewed Billy Wayne Sinclair, and they fell in love. And she thought, how can I be this person? I'm divorced and I'm in love with a guy he was on death row for a number of years. He got himself off death row by proving the corruption was not, the things in his file were not accurate and real.
Right.
And it got downgraded to life, and he was released in 2013.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy
So
smokes.
he was in prison for over 40 years.
Holy smokes.
And so
they had this relationship all this time.
The entire time. And here's the thing. They've had people come and want to produce their story a number of times, and two things have happened that they just cannot stand. They make them have sex in the waiting room, which they did not do.
Yep.
And they do not want that to be a part of their story.
Right.
And there ends up being some sort of prison escape when Showtime gets involved, or these other places that have done things, and like helicopters and things. And we reread their story, and we're like, oh my gosh. So basically what happened is she had this book. She saw some sort of new, I can't remember what it was exactly that she saw, but the boy, I call them the boys, Spencer and Vic, had been interviewed on something. She said, I want those guys to give me a blurb for the back of my book. So she reached out, and we all read the book. We're like, oh my gosh, this story is amazing. Yeah. And they did the blurb. The pandemic happens. The book doesn't get a lot of traction, like a lot of people's books or albums. My friend Thad, same thing with his album. Like all these people, just everything that was happening just stopped. So in the pandemic, Jody starts to realize, she's like, well, you guys really want to tell stories. Do you want the rights? Can we negotiate with you guys to have the rights to our 3 books? Because Billy has written 2 books. Capital Punishment is one of them, which is his story coming through and waking up in prison himself, where he realized, I'm not this guy.
No.
I did this horrible thing. And essentially what his crime was, he was, I think, 22 or 23, and he robbed a convenience store with a 22.
Yep.
And was running from the store because the guy was chasing him and hitting him with things. And he literally shot over his shoulder, panicking, and winged the guy, mortally killing him.
Wow.
He literally, bled out very quickly. And the story that was told was that he shot him point blank, and there were witnesses that saw him running, getting his ass kicked, and they were completely left out of the entire story. Wow. And so when all of that got reversed, and it gets even higher into that, there's just so much corruption around this case. It's unbelievable. When the people involved in the case saw that the FBI was investigating it, they created their own investigation, which made everything inadmissible. Jody wore a wire at a certain point.
In jail.
Meetings,
in jail.
No, in other meetings with legislature, with people who were high up involved in this thing. Like literally, this thing was incredibly corrupt in small town politics in Louisiana. We have the rights to this story, thanks to this relationship we've built with these folks.
Holy
so they
smokes,
hung
man.
low-lying people so that the higher ups could not get busted for it, made everything that the FBI did inadmissible. And so my first take was, oh my gosh, I want to tell the whole story of the Anglite, like these guys understanding and seeing the corruption and writing about it and figure out how to write this really kind of cool, interesting journalistic piece with them in prison, going through that experience and the way they were treated when, certain people don't want that stuff to happen. And they prevailed. They kept going and they kept going. And the relationships and the things that are in it, I thought, oh, that would be super cool. We end up with the rights to their story. And we're thinking, this is beautiful. We can tell both sides of the fence, them growing up to, one's a debutante, one's a hick. They grow up and they have the lives that they have, and they meet and they fall in love. And this is a beautiful story. Wow. So through that app I was telling you about, Clubhouse, I ran into a friend that I've worked with at Manifest Works. He does training for people who are coming out of the foster care system and that are coming out of jail, and teaches them to be production assistants on commercials and things. And we're catching up. We saw each other in one of these rooms. We got into a private room. We started talking. Then we got on the telephone. We're talking. We started saying, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm still doing Manifest Works, and I've written these other series, and these things are coming to light for me." And I said, "Yeah, I've been having a really great year. This Unincarcerated Productions." Explain it to him. And I said, "Yeah, and we've been given the rights to Jody and Billy Wayne Sinclair's story." And he goes, "I have Rideau's story rights, and we're doing a documentary." Rideau was the other editor of The Angelite, and things did not end well between Billy and he. There's a lot of animosity, and one of the reality shows that we're working on is to try to put these two guys together after prison and talk about it.
Holy smokes.
And Billy's a little reticent. He's kind of open. Rideau's kind of ready and interested.
Are these guys both in their 80s right now, or?
Yeah, I think actually, I believe Rideau is younger. I'm really fuzzy on my facts right now because it's 10:30 and I've shot already today. I'm exhausted. But it is so unbelievable. Like, what are the odds that I would end up in a Clubhouse app room with the guy who has the exact other half of the rights to the story that we're working on telling? Like, that's what I'm talking about is happening. It's like, it doesn't mean that it's happening that all of a sudden we're going to, it's not about success. It's about telling the stories of these people.
I just love this concept, especially about taking a look and humanizing these people that are in the system, right? Because I can't go into it either. I've been working on a side project as well with somebody that's out that's out where you're at now, Korey, and trying to help tell his story. And again, it's another thing of somebody that's turned around their life. But it's so interesting the mistakes that are made by some of these young men, a series of circumstances or things that they get into, and really realizing and one of the stories that I'm working on right now is a guy literally having that mind shift set, right? Like that mindset shift where it just goes, "Oh no, I'm not going to go this way," because, and not to get too down into the weeds with this, but there's some challenges in our prison.
Oh man, it's
major
unbelievable.
prisons. I mean, there's some stuff that I've been hearing, with like when you get into some of these maximum security things, you just go like, again, some of these guys are going in and they're just learning how to become better criminals,
Yes. No, there's no question. Yeah. Billy's book, Capital Punishment, it shows you that. And that's exactly what his moment was when he realized it. And other men around him who were those criminals would say, "Billy Wayne, you are not." And they literally helped him. I mean, it's just the relationships that these men have in there. And it's so, yes, the violence exists. It all does. It's a culture of that. But the reality is it's so much deeper than that. And there are so many people in there that can and do deserve the opportunity.
And this opportunity and this hope for those people that want to do that or to change that or how they can do that. And even in some extents, listen, this is, I get it, right? There are some of these gentlemen that you've done crimes that you're going to probably serve the rest of your life for, right? Like there's all that, but like a mindset shift that can happen to go, hold on.
Yeah.
Yes, I may be in this place, but what can I do with this life that I have and this mind that I have? And, and fortunately, part of this, it sounds like part of the thing that you're talking about is for those people that get that second chance, that are able to go out, right? Because that's a huge challenge with these people that are out there, right? I mean, there is such a tendency because you kind of get beat down or you're treated like a second-class citizen, or you make the mistake of you're getting out and you're going right back into the same people, right?
Correct.
And all of a sudden that cycle can start again. And this is an opportunity for something to go, stop. You can break this cycle and it can be something completely different, and that you can have an effect and a change not only for yourself, but for other people around you.
Right. And that's it. And we're in conversations with people who have written books, had the experience, been in prison. We have one gentleman we're talking with that we're trying to help him get his book into more people's hands and consider being engaged in developing a story with him, because his story is amazing. I'm not going to get into the story, but he literally came out, became a counselor inside of a prison, working with his counselor side by side as peers. Right. And he's now giving his notice, and he's bought a piece of property, and he's going to create a post-release home for men to teach them how to live, because that's the problem, is that you just get out there and you're left kind of alone.
Yes.
And so you either go back to those people. And so again, Unincarcerated Productions exists to shift the societal paradigm surrounding prisoners and ex-prisoners from an intolerant and hateful perspective to one centered around humanity, compassion, and redemption. That's the core mission of what we're doing. And by engaging with these folks, and we hope to actually be able to make a deal with this guy and do sort of a reality series around starting this thing. And it's terrifying stuff to get into, because the world thinks it doesn't want to see this stuff because they need to be sensationalizing it, or they need to.
Right.
But there is an economy around these people that there's value in supporting them. And what we've learned is that we don't need to be going to the Department of Corrections as much for the support for the programs we're going to, but through this lobbyist, we've learned that the Labor Department has an invested interest in creating opportunity for them. So recidivism is a big deal in privatized prison, and we're starting to see that that's not really a thing, and we need to look at it. And it's all happening right now. The conversations in Washington, they're starting to really see that this has been a mistake. But how do you unravel something like this? And that conversation you were having about 500 years from now, I feel like this is one of those conversations. We may or may not see anything happen. We might get to tell some amazing documentaries. I hope I get to do this huge 12-hour version of Billy Wayne and Jody that we're working on. I think it's got something to it, and it's out to some pretty interesting people in the industry who are thinking, wow, that was a really great elevator pitch. Can we see anything that you've got? Yes. And so I've got it in the hands of some people I've worked with that I'm super excited to continue down the path and just follow up with people. Meanwhile, I'm making Chicago Fire with an amazing crew and working on the writings and doing all this stuff. And I feel like that's what your podcast is the creative journey. Like I am in this place where I feel like I'm in some sort of bizarre flow, and the outcome isn't important. I feel like I'm responding to a lot of opportunities that I could have never found myself. Right. And a bunch of it started from these conversations on this app that had nothing to do with the project. That just happened to be in my bio. And these people are reaching out directly to me and saying, you need to meet this lobbyist. You need to meet this woman whose husband owns an airline company and wants to create jobs as them being mechanics. Amazing. And those people are both in the same state.
Yes.
One of them has connections to every single private airport in the state. And you go, okay. And then there's this guy with a book that is, that we talked about before the podcast. We can't really talk about who it is right now, but there's a gentleman that's widely known with a really incredible, book to help people learn identity leadership, figure out who you are, what your weaknesses are, and take a risk.
Yes.
Make a change.
Yes.
And we're looking at creating content for these people. We're in the conversations, and that's all just because we're willing. We have put our effort into something like this, and we make our livings doing other things, and this company is incredibly important to us because it's a conversation. We're not trying to make money and make TV shows, but that hopefully will happen so the story can be told.
I think that this is the power of art, right? This is the power of art and creativity.
We're boring Polly. He left.
No, he's got to take care of his boy. His boy likes to pop in every once in a while, just like, huh?
Dad stuff.
But
look, there he is.
Hey, hi, Noah. What's going on?
Hi, Noah. Welcome.
Noah's 3. Hey, listen, man, I'd be doing it too. If my dad was in there doing a thing,
too.
I'd be checking. Hey, buddy, good
to see you. Come on, come in and hang out.
What are you gonna do? All right, he's heading on back. Love you, buddy. And just as a side note, you keep seeing like when Paul goes to the thing, he's got a little icon for Yes Day. His daughter Everly, her show is debuting on March 12th on Netflix. She plays Jennifer Gardner's daughter in the movie. Awesome. So if you get a chance to see it, go check it out. That's our like intermediate. That's our in podcast commercial, right?
Plug.
That pops up.
Yeah, it's a plug. Organically just happened.
I love it. Korey, I think that's just so awesome that you're able to use that, just the art and the creativity and just this idea of like, we don't have to be locked into just doing, not to say that there's something that isn't beneficial for having fun, goofy entertainment, but that we can also use these skills and that they can just transport into other areas of our life and in things where it can make a huge impact on, we can make impact on people's lives. It can make an impact on society. It's amazing, brother.
Well, what's amazing about it is that my grandmother passed away many years ago now. had a heart for people in prison. I grew up in Walla Walla, Washington. And back then it was the Walla Walla State Penitentiary and Walla Walla Sweet Onions. That's what it was. And they would say to me, you better get yourself together. You're going to end up in there, kid. You know, to the penitentiary as we would drive by that. And
not in the sweet onion.
Not farm. In the Sweet Onions, in the actual penitentiary, you know, because I was a troubled kid. I had a lot of issues. I still have a lot of issues. Thank God for sobriety and growth and all those things. Amen. But so she had a heart for these people. So I had a different view of people like that growing up, you know, and there are people you should be terrified of in life. Absolutely 100%. But it's not every single person who's ever gotten a record by any stretch. So I had no idea that getting deeply involved in the prison population would ever be on my radar. And if I had not been let go from a huge show internationally and been home and been available for a phone call and said, I'm just going to go volunteer. I'm going to try that. A buddy of mine was doing a bunch of business coaching and he was in Pelican Bay is where he did. He called me weeping from Pelican Bay. He was supposed to be having dinner with me that night. I don't think I told that on this last.
No, man. Pelican Bay is where Charlie Manson was for years.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it is a maximum security prison.
Crescent City, man. Crescent City, because I know that because my in-laws had places up in Brookings, man. We have to drive right through that. It's crazy.
Right. So he's supposed to be in California, in Los Angeles for dinner with me one night, and I called to confirm, and he had just come out from one of these coaching sessions, and he was in tears. My friend Dustin Hillis was weeping on the phone. He goes, you're not going to believe this. You've got to try this. I'm like, try what? Where are you? He goes, I'm in Pelican Bay. I said, are we having dinner tonight? I'm confused. Yeah, I'll do that. And I said, where's Kaya? Kaya's his wife. She goes, she's with me. I'm like, why are you guys in prison? I'm so confused and I don't understand. And he explained that he was with Defy Ventures and he had done this business coaching and he thought it would be something that really, knowing me and knowing my heart, that I would be good at, because I have a heart for education. I've been working with film students all over the world, you know, for years. And he was right. I walked in on the day that I volunteered and they said, okay, we're going to dance you up in front of this room full of inmates and you're going to tell them who you are, what your greatest accomplishment is, and why you're here. I was like, I'm going to do what? There was like 12 of us. And we're all like, we're going to do what?
Yeah, it's like, and it really is like, why am I here? I don't know.
Yeah, now I'm really wondering why. I thought I was here to talk to people. Yeah. Oh,
yes, it does. It does sound just like this podcast, right?
So I do this thing and I realize that and what we were there to do was Defy Ventures essentially helps entrepreneurs change what it is that they're trying to do. And they train you to create businesses that will employ other felons or other inmates when they get out. And so there's lots of different businesses that come out of this program. It's actually really a powerful program. So we were there and there was a coaching day and we were going to go through people's resumes and hear their pitches and hear how, give them mock interview skills and things like that. And I really had a heart for that. I thought the idea sounded great. Then I'm standing there in the room and I realize, what is my greatest accomplishment? What does it really mean? And because I was the kid that always got away, I had an epiphany before I went up to do my little introduction. And for me, I realized that my greatest accomplishment was the number of days that I had been sober on that day, because my life changed and the road that I was heading on as a young teen into my, young adult life had many someones in the entertainment industry not seen something in me that I couldn't see in myself and offered me opportunity. But for the grace of God, the things I was doing, that's where the road was heading.
Right.
And so I realized that I was the guy that got away. So I said, my name's Korey Pollard. And they wanted me, movie guy. They wanted me to say movie guy things. And I couldn't do movie guy things. I realized that I was the guy that got away. So I said, my most, amazing accomplishment is the number of days sober. And who am I? I'm your asshole friend that got away. I'm that kid that if you were a teenager when you did it, that was fast and got away. I'm your buddy that never got caught. There is no difference between you and I. And my heart melted. I'm literally kind of shaking and in tears right now because I couldn't believe the reality of my life. I've been so blessed by all the opportunity that has been presented to me. Yeah. I have responded appropriately to those situations. And I've made changes in my life that have allowed me to be there and available to do that on a daily basis, which leads to the creative stuff, which leads to, you know, this kind of call now, what I feel is a real call. Like, I feel like I can't not do what we're doing with Unincarcerated Productions. It's absolutely impossible for me to go on with my life after walking into that prison and realizing there are people in prison who absolutely deserve to be there and always will be there. There are people who can get out and should get out, but our system is designed diametrically against it. If you can't afford it, you're not getting out. If you can't afford it, like, so you get stuck in it. There's too much of that, and we want to raise awareness and tell real stories by interviewing these people and their families. That's where the stigma is as well. I mean, we're literally working to create jobs for families with sales corporations, helping us to train wives and teenagers to give them opportunities to not go down the same road, because it's a cycle.
Wow, man. Powerful.
It's a lot, and it's crazy because it just seems like it just sounds like talk. But the people that are coming up behind us and getting involved are blowing our minds, because we're talking about it like what you said at the beginning of this podcast. And there's so many people who disagree. We're like, okay, well, just let us put Spencer and Vic in your office and talk for 30 minutes, and then let them tell you that they spent 12 years in prison. Mm-hmm. And for what? Yeah. And you go, wait, what? Yeah. We're breaking those barriers by putting, and then taking, when coronavirus wasn't a thing, we were working with organizations that took people from the CEO, like from the corporations in, and people, they literally, like what I did, you will weep. When the world opens up, we hope that people will get involved with the places that we are engaging with and just show up and have a different view, because we are so fortunate.
I love it. I love it. Unincarcerated Productions. More than anything else, if there's something you walk away, unincarceratedproductions.com. Check it out. We'll put it in the show notes so that people can check that out, because it's huge. I can't wait for people to find out more about that stuff. Hey, let's flip part of the conversation for a second, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Korey, how the heck do you balance and juggle all this stuff that's going on with your life, buddy?
I am exhausted right now. I have overextended myself. You know, once I was so excited for the invitation to come back, and I came home. I got very few hours of sleep last night, not because of work. Work is good right now.
Sure.
And I am needing to check the governor right now. I'm engaging with a friend of mine who's an actor who is having an experience. A very large manager has pinged them and is taking them under their wing. Mm-hmm. And there are audition after audition. And here's what's so funny. You will get this, Kevin.
Yeah.
Stand By Me hurt my heart.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't capable, because of the addiction and the things that were going on in my life, to show up for what I thought were going to be opportunities that present themselves. River Phoenix passes away, and I thought that was a buddy of mine that we were going to, I was going to get to continue down a road with, and it just, and none of it happened. And so I ended up in this opportunity to become an AD, but my heart's always been to be that guy. I don't need to be a movie star.
Yeah.
Acting, voiceover, all this stuff. Again, this silly time of talking, this silly Clubhouse app. I have been attending and doing monologues, attending classes on the app. I'm doing monologues. I'm putting together a voice reel.
Wait. So this is for those of you that are not familiar.
Yeah,
this is the Clubhouse. This is Clubhouse app, which is sort of it's an audio. It's sort of like an audio check-in meeting place. Now, I have heard about it, and I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I have a Google phone, so it's mainly right now on iPhones.
It is. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, though there's an Android version of it coming, but only like really iPhone people.
It's in a beta test. Apparently, I ended up in a group that is in that beta testing, and I pursued it mostly for recovery stuff.
Gotcha.
And by sharing my heart and my desires in my life of the change, these folks have shown up in these rooms who do these things and are coaching and helping.
So
how do I do it all? How do I balance it all? I spend time every morning in meditation and every night that I can in meditation and just silence. Because
Yes.
without the silence, I can't do any of it.
Yes.
I feel like I'm a cross between a clown and a juggler. When I'm trying to do all this stuff, I'm the guy with the plates spinning on the stick, and they're clanking together, and all the, like, I've got all these great ideas and I want them all in the air, and I've got this thing. Everything has focused down to, from 4 years ago now, it's been 4 years since I first walked into prison to do the volunteer stuff that I've done. It's all focused down to that one thing, which is a lot, but it's not when you're just responding to opportunity versus making a plan. Because the conversations are happening. Does that make sense?
Now explain that. Why don't you unpack that a little bit? So repeat it one more time. You're doing what? You're
responding to opportunity.
Responding to opportunity versus
I'm not making plans.
Okay.
We started talking about this whole company thing 3 years ago. I got involved in the conversation, and I've been working with these gentlemen for 3 years. And we had a sense that if we could find a platform to just start the conversation, that others would jump on, that this would be kind of a movement. Right. No idea that this app would ever come into play.
No.
So we've been building the relationships with our COO. Rachel Jack goes out, and she's the one that is with corporations and talking and just creating opportunity for us to get in and talk about this inclusion and this reality. You can shift your paradigm and thinking, and maybe your organization might actually benefit by training people who are needing opportunity when they get out, instead of these young people who are doing this all the time, and you train them and they go, oh, look at that opportunity. Poof. And you've spent all the money to train them and they're gone.
Yep.
Somebody who wants an opportunity, needs an opportunity, and you see a path for them through your organization, whatever that organization is. Training videos can be made by people who are needing those same opportunities. Videos of how they did and didn't do can go in and show people how to live when they get out. There are groups that are trying to support people that don't get connected very well to the inmates and to their families, to the post-release folks. There's a lot of people trying to do a lot of things in different places, and we want to be the one organization that kind of unifies them by the stories we tell and create resources. So our website is building and building and building, where we're trying to put more and more resources on it. It's still in a beta test right now. All it has is some of our documentary stuff up there, and it's happening in real time right now. Like, because these conversations have happened, we're responding to opportunity.
Love it.
There's a sense that you want to sit in a room and plan.
Yes.
And there's a time and a place for that kind of thing. But at the same time, once the conversation starts, it's about the pivot. It's about the response to what comes creatively, business-wise. Like, I'm learning that from a lot of pretty strong business folks that are reaching out. I'm going, hey, you are right on the way. I'm like, yeah, we don't know exactly how this works. Well, yeah, but if somebody handed you the money, could you make a TV show today? Yeah, that's absolutely within my skill set. And that's the easiest part of everything we're doing for me, honestly. Isn't that crazy to think that? And that's what we're talking about. It's about being trained for one thing, and then realizing that there's something else inside of you that takes that skill set. Because I used to feel like, great, so I'm selling another erectile dysfunction medicine with my show, or a truck, or a, whatever they are selling on us. And we're having such a great time with our stories.
Yes.
But it's all about the advertising dollars. Right. And I believe that there's an economy to be made around this kind of content.
Yes.
And so I'm going to go to my grave with this is the passion.
Yes.
To prove that there's an economy.
Yes.
Literally an economy by creating jobs for them, something to advertise in, because these stories matter.
Yes.
They matter.
Yes.
The people who didn't sleep together in their love relationship, in a conjugal visit, matter.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, that's just my deal. I'm going to get off my soapbox.
No, I love it, man. It's great. There's something to be said, man, about really, even as you were just talking about that, how many times do we get jammed up by saying, this is it, I want it to go this way, right?
Yes.
It's we make plans and then God laughs at it, right?
Yes.
It's just like going, oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
I'm glad you planned that for yourself, because that's not what I have in store for you at all. And there's something about being present and available in the moment. It's not being stupid. It's not being, chasing the shiny objects. That's a big challenge that I have, right?
Yeah.
I think I've talked about it before. There's, you know what I mean? Where it's like,
squirrel.
Yeah, I have to put down like a series
Yes.
of, there's a
Yes.
series of things that I have to, there's like a list of things I have to go that are like parameters for myself, which I've learned. Like, what are the parameters that I have to do when working on a project? And, you know, some of those things include like, is this something that's in line with your skill set and the stuff that God's calling you to do? Or is this something that you're doing to prop yourself up and to get glory for it, right? Or, you know, and also like there's the give and take, right? Which you're very familiar with, Korey,
Yeah,
which is like,
without a
okay,
doubt.
when I'm saying yes to this, I'm saying no
What
to my wife and kids, right?
and is that really wise? And boy, poor Stephanie will tell you that the years, and that's what she's saying now too as well. She's like, this is crazy. Like the amount of things that you've burnt yourself out over and wasted time, I feel. But this is happening in your present. This is happening and you're a part of our lives. I feel like I don't understand what is happening. I don't understand all this unincarcerated. I don't understand it, but I see it. You know, what you were just talking about, like, how do I do this? This is a really, I don't even know how to segue into this. The uneducated guy who fell off a truck in Hollywood in 1988, right out of high school, was invited to speak at Yale, Branford College of Design at Yale. My nephew was there. He was going through some design projects where he had to work with others, play well with others. That's what you learn in Hollywood, is how to play well with others or not. And he would call me as he was talking about these personalities he's working with. And I kind of just navigated some personalities on the phone with him. And they brought this design project together, this architecture design project together that they were working on. And the director of his program noticed that and said, Matthew, how did you learn? I watched you navigate. I watched you talk to these personalities. My Uncle Korey taught me. And this person called me and asked me if I would come to Yale and talk to this design group just about being present. And what I ended up talking about more than anything was be careful of being so locked on to what you think your goals are that you miss the opportunity that's right in front of you. The thing that you think is the least likely thing could be the very thing you need to do more than anything. And I don't know if that makes sense to you, but
Yes,
I
it
never
does.
thought I wanted to be an assistant director, but someone else, Scott Robertson, looked at me one day and said, dude, I think you'd be a better AD than you are. Drop that. I'm like, what? I suck at this? What do you mean? You know, I think I said that last time. So what I said to these kids, these students, these young adults, I spoke at Yale. Like, what? That doesn't even make, those words coming out of a bumpkin from Walla Walla, Washington, who was graduated from Springfield High School barely, makes no sense.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. Well, what I talked about was I found myself climbing a ladder in Hollywood starting at 12 years old that I, you know, thought I knew what I wanted to do. I started climbing a ladder. I got to the top of it and I was like, well, what wall is this? This isn't even the wall I put it on in the first place.
Yep.
Like, how, if I had said no and thought I was just an actor, you know what I'd be? A waiter. And now at 52, I have a really cool casting director helping me put together a voice reel. I have a guy who was on, okay, here we go. Here we are with these things again. So I signed up for this app class to do monologues. You just show up, you're in the audience, you can pick a monologue off this guy's website. He offers classes offline and you can go take those, but he's doing this completely for free.
And it's just audio, right? It's just audio?
Just audio. Literally, there's just a picture and you can push on the picture and you see your bio and you're like, connect or not connect. And then you can connect on Instagram and you can connect on, I'm talking to more people offline than I am on the app.
Yeah.
So I'm on this thing and I'm starting to recognize I choose this thing. I'm like, look at that. That's monologues. You could just, really? I haven't done a monologue in 37 years. 37 years ago was the last time I pursued acting. Wow. 37 years. I realized that the other night. I was like, why? What are you doing?
Yeah.
So I get on the app and I'm listening to this moderator. I'm like, I know this voice. I look him up. He did an episode of 911. He's the first AD on his episode of 911.
Which Korey worked on.
I did the first 2 seasons, a season and a half. So, I mean, you know, you just go, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm living.
Yes.
I'm pursuing what's in front of me in the moment that I'm in. And these lists that I have are things I hold loosely. My job is getting everything in a room and not having a clue exactly how it's going to happen. But the view is the guy in the AD position knows everything. There are guys that do that. And I've seen them have heart attacks really early, and I would not be good at that. But so apparently I'm good at something because I keep getting the jobs and I bring whatever I bring to the sets. And I love what I do and I love the people. But now I'm doing all of it. I am exhausted tonight. I didn't finish about this. So this friend of mine, I'm going to just drop a name and see what happens in the next year. Rocky Strange. Raquey Strange.
Okay, Rocky Strange.
Talented kid. That's who I was up late last night doing scene work with them.
Yeah.
And I need to rest and set some boundaries. With this one person, all these other things happening have been in that place. And I love this person dearly. Yeah. But I said, no more on school nights. I can't do it on school nights anymore because it spun me out. I'm so tired right now. And I haven't been. I've been tired, because it's a rough show. And it's not rough. It's a wrong way to say it. It is a consuming and very large project I'm working on out here. And it is so much fun to work on, but it's like a marathon and I need to be a little wiser with my time is all.
Well, we're just so grateful that you came and joined us and I get it,
Thank
buddy.
you for asking.
Like,
Thank you so much. I love that you guys are doing this. I've been, especially when I keep tuning in and seeing that I have friends that are on it too. It's really cool.
Guess who's coming on in a couple of weeks is Mark Clayman is joining us in a couple of weeks.
Oh my gosh. Anybody who followed me here, you have got to listen to Mark's story. This is an incredible, he's in this group that Kevin and I were talking about. This group of men. And I knew Mark really even before I knew Chip and Eric.
That's right. And we had Eric on the show a couple of weeks ago.
I know,
Chip's going to come visit. Chip's going to come visit us in May. So we're trying to set that up.
Gosh. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, guys, for having me. And I'm sorry I talk a lot, but I feel like
kid, man?
The conversation needs to happen. Oh, right. That is what podcasts are for, isn't it? Oh, yeah. I don't know why I am so insecure about that.
No way. You are just you're an absolute joy, man. So we're just grateful that you were able to carve out some time.
Was there anybody even here? It's so weird to sit in a room and talk. I so desperately want to be able to see the comments and all that stuff.
I know. Well, it gets a little it gets a little complicated, right? While you're doing
I invite people to heckle me. Actually, so I'm hoping that you've got some stuff on there.
You're pretty good this week. Everybody's been very cool. I think
respectful.
Everybody's just sort of like hanging out and just like chilling out and stuff. So it was good. Unincarceratedproductions.com. We'll put the link in the show notes. So make sure that you check that out, ladies and gentlemen.
Please. I'll send you the link to the podcast because it's on every platform right now. We have our own website. And eventually the commerce stuff is coming because we're actually selling people's books through it that we're interviewing, and then vertically integrated. We're going to start self-publishing people's stories for them to be able to do stuff and get their stories out there.
Super, super grateful. Talking about other stuff that's going on real quick, Paul, could you please give us a recap of what's going on? We got some big stuff that's happening with Vaudacity this next week, and maybe a quick just a reminder again about Everly if you can,
Oh yeah, well, if you're listening to the podcast, then it's already out on Netflix, but the Netflix original family feature film Yes Day comes out on Friday, and my daughter is one of the lead actors in that. So check it out for sure. And next week, when this podcast does come out on Monday, it's actually the 1 year anniversary of the first time we started doing shows virtually here on YouTube because of the pandemic. So we're celebrating that in a big way on the Vaudacity Network. We've got several shows every night of the week, totaling to about 15 shows next week.
Good gravy.
Wow.
No, 17 shows next week. We have 17 shows next week, Monday through Sunday. So you got several things every night to check out, including some stuff. Like, I can't tell you all the stuff that I'm super excited about. It would take way too long. Okay. But one thing is we're doing an improvised documentary.
Oh, wow.
That's going to be fun. Friday night.
Oh,
wow.
Called
The Broken Truth.
What's it called?
the Broken Truth. We play
Okay.
an improv game called Broken News on the show every week, where we just do
Right.
something mundane, like somebody's mowing the lawn, and then we do like a 10-minute news segment on it with how it affects all these different types of life or parts of life. We're just going to do an hour-long documentary, improvised,
Good.
and that's just one of the so
That
many
sounds
things,
so
exciting
fun.
things we have next
Yeah.
week. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, I can't say it enough. Paul, you've just been so incredibly prolific over this last year. I mean, talk about taking a situation that was so upside down and transitioning to this, and the amount of content that you've been putting out with all of the different artists over the last year has just been incredible. So
It's
kudos to
kind of
you.
wild.
Yeah, I mean, like literally, you've been sort of piloting that boat, and it really speaks volumes of who you are, your character, and the people that you've gathered together with this, where you just get people consistently jumping on and saying, yes, what do you want to do? Let's go for it. That's how this podcast started, with Paul just reaching out and saying,
Wasn't
hey,
this supposed to
man,
be very short-lived? Wasn't it?
Yeah,
6
5 episodes.
Yeah.
Five
How
or six
many?
episodes.
How many are there now?
You're episode 40 tonight, Korey. So,
Wow, I am honored.
yeah, it's crazy. Speaking of your Creative Journey podcast, Paul, remind people how they can specifically help us and support us on this show.
Leave us a positive review, not just on Apple Podcasts. I was realizing last week how we always drive people to Apple Podcasts, but
Yeah.
it's available on every platform. And if you are able to rate us wherever you listen to us, that'll help, because it'll help more people who like to listen to shows like this find this show. So
Yeah.
we'll even read your review on the show, just like...
I think, like other people that have done it, I'm just going to take a quick look. I don't think we've had any new reviews lately, but it does help. Hey, even if you happen to find the link, hey, even if you find it here on YouTube, my gosh, it's super helpful just to like copy the link and just share it with a friend. Even if you're sending, even if you're sending somebody like an email or a text or something like that, or finding it on yourcreativejourneypodcast.com, just any of these shows that you see, just like send somebody towards it. If you happen to think, oh my gosh, there's somebody that I know would really love hearing Korey's story, or go back and listen to our previous episode that we have with Korey, which is amazing. That's just a real great way to support the show. Before we end, I have blown this for the last 2 weeks. First of all, I want to thank all of our team that helps us with this. The social media team, Heather, Dari, Christina, Sam, all of those guys. We've been missing producer Craig. Producer Craig has been in an acting class for the last several weeks, so we've missed it on YouTube. God willing, we'll see him back here soon again. He's always talented. If you want to see producer Craig, you'll see him pop up on the online picnics every week, which is, I keep calling them picnics it's a variety show, right? I'm so used to calling it Polly's Picnics, because that's what it used to be. And I also want to give a shout out, Steve Erdeman, man. This guy has been helping me out on the audio engineer side with like editing this stuff. He's just been a blessing. So Steve, thank you for your help. I'm saying this because he's going to hear this podcast episode, and I just want to say thank you, because he's got to deal with things like, in the background, I don't have any audio padding or anything like that. And for some reason, over the last 3 Tuesdays is exactly when Maddie comes home, and I hear laughing and yelling and people. You guys didn't, I don't know if you heard it or not, but our Alexa timer was going off for probably 45 seconds straight. And I could hear Maddie in the background going, Alexa, Alexa, right? So Steve, thanks for mixing this.
Thank you,
this
Steve.
week.
Thank you so
That's
much.
so funny.
Because that's the type of stuff that Steve has to do on the side. So thank you, brother. Anyway,
Appreciate you.
Hey, kudos to you for getting me online too. That was a struggle for me at the beginning.
That's okay,
Thank
man.
you.
And we're able to unplug and plug in, so
Yeah.
we're able to get the thing going. Sometimes,
And if I might just jump in real quick, like, you gave me props for like steering this ship, but all of the things that you do in your life and you're dealing with and have been in this past year, and you're still making this happen every week because it's fueling or being fueled by, or both, your heart's fire. Like, that's super impressive, man. Like, people don't understand the amount of work that goes into it, and all I do is show up and I sit here and I make comments for an hour, but you're working all week long on the shows every week, so thank you, Kevin. And Korey, another episode where it's just like you're not only your tenacity or your joie de
Joie de
vivre,
vivre.
Love it.
is just like
Wow.
is inspirational. But like you touched on it so much this week, and it's just like it's just an amazing thing to me how you know, you can be super driven. You can be a super driven person, but still completely open to anything new that pulls you.
It's a skill
And
set. It's weird.
there's this difficult balance though between like shiny object, shiny object, shiny object,
Yes.
shiny object, and then really feeling that, oh, that's important to me, and I want to spend my time on this, and just like recognizing the signals when you're being guided
Yeah.
an interaction by the
That's the
by
most
outside forces,
humbling
the
part of the
universe or
whole
God,
thing.
whatever people may call it.
Yeah. Thank you
And
for
just
that,
like
Paul.
all those affirmations that you're doing the
Yeah.
right thing and you're going in the right direction and keep it up. Like
I think that's the message, you know, that I always want to give to people is we all have drive in things and we all want certain things. But I've learned that these desires are placed inside me, you know, and we can go spiritual or not go spiritual, but I think we all have that and we ignore it for desires. And it's a different thing when something's coming from inside versus I'm wanting to get something. And I've been given so much in my life. And so I really appreciate you acknowledging that. It means the world to me because it is so interesting because I know I look like a lunatic, but the things are happening. The things happen, you know, and my wife can just watch me and go, really? You're doing that? What are you doing now?
Yeah.
And then it all comes into a place where you're like, wow, this is it. And it's, I'm so grateful. I call it getting peeled. I'm glad that layers peel away and something else comes through. Because if I had it all together 25 years ago, I would not even have ever imagined the life I have today.
Yeah.
I would be in a completely different place and I'd probably be miserable if I got everything I wanted back then.
Yeah.
The way I wanted it, the way I thought I wanted it.
Crazy.
What a
Well,
gift.
thanks, buddy.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you for sharing your heart, Paul.
I just
thank
figured
you
out
for-
now I could actually watch this on my phone at the same time and I could have seen the comments. Well, maybe some other time.
Listen, man. If you'd been watching the
Next
comments,
time
brother,
out.
it would have taken you.
Next time
It would have
out.
taken you out of the moment.
Yeah, that's true. You're
That's
totally
true.
right.
You need to be
Thank
right
you guys
here.
so much.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you
here's the
guys.
deal. We're going to say bye for the audio podcast. Hey, we're going to be back in a couple of weeks, ladies and gentlemen. We got some stuff that's coming up, but don't worry. We'll be back. We'll be back towards the end of the month. So stick with us. And in the meantime, go back and take a look at, listen to some of the older episodes. We'll say bye-bye right now to our audio podcast folks before we say goodbye to our YouTube folks. We will see you in just a couple of weeks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Play that awesome music from the Swells.
Awesome. Hey, YouTube folks, thank you so much, man. You guys are a huge blessing every week. Yeah, just want to let you know, we won't be here next week. We're going to be taking the next 2 weeks off.
We won't be live next week.
We won't be live next week. We're working on a little something, and it'll just be for YouTube folks. So we're not going to have that. That's not going to come through the audio podcast thing. But Paul's a rock star. I don't know how you're going to do this with all your other junk, buddy.
Whatever.
I don't know how you do
It's
this. Paul.
just-
Like literally, when I was talking to Korey about like, hey, Korey, how do you do all this? What I was really doing is I was really looking at Paul, like going, Paul, I'm really talking to you. So how are you doing all this? So,
It's kind of amazing. It's super cool when you see the work. I've been popping in, looking at videos and just going, how in the heck? I do love the improv stuff. I think that is absolutely incredible. It's
You
so
have to
cool.
join us sometime.
I would like to try it. I don't know. I think I might vapor lock, but
Listen,
I
buddy,
definitely like
it's
watching it.
It's what this show's all about, man. That's
Yeah.
what gets people on to get the rust off the bicycle and go for it,
Yeah.
man. So,
Yeah.
you know,
So fun. Well, I'm in Chicago, Second City. All those people are here, you know.
well, there you go. Maybe
Looking
it'll
for a
rub
little
off
love.
on you, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Just a quick bye-bye to everybody. Diana, glad you were able to join us later. Charity was here. Hey, I think that there was somebody else that was up there I wanted to say hi to that I've completely missed. Oh, who's Blind Man? Does anybody know who Blind Man is on there?
Seems like a friend of Corey's. Based
You know
on
what? That's interesting. I wonder if that's Troy Garcia. Boy, we could go
It
down.
could be. That was a great show because we were talking about
Is he
life.
saying something? Let me look.
No, it was back there. That was a great show.
Oh.
Sarah Shahi's breakout
Yeah.
role. So I don't know. Could be somebody that you know. So who
Yeah,
knows?
it could be. My friend Troy Garcia was blinded when he was probably
Oh,
6 or
greetings from
7.
Carter. That's who it is. Carter. Good to see you again,
Oh,
Korey.
Carter!
That's who Blind
Wow.
Man is. So I don't know.
That that's funny. Yeah, Carter and I worked together on a show called It's Salem. If it's the same Carter, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. It's
That
hard
was a
when we
heavy
get
show.
people that pop on, right? Like they'll pop on YouTube and they've got like
Yeah.
their handles, and you just kind of go, "Who are? Hello, what?"
Yep. Yep.
And then I'm terrible. Well, listen, YouTube folks, thanks so much. We'll have a little something. It won't be a live thing next week, but we'll have something special for you next week. And then we'll be back here live on March 30th. That's actually, I think that's when we're scheduling the claiming thing. So we'll work it
I can't
out.
wait for that. I'm looking for that invitation.
It's going to be
I'm
fun.
looking forward to that.
YouTube folks, love you dearly. Have a great night, and we will see you soon. God bless each and every one of you, and we will talk to you soon. Okay?
Thanks,
Love
guys.
ya. Thanks for being here.
See you guys.
Bye, gang.
Bye.
Have a great night, guys.